It sounds like she's refusing to answer questions about the starting lineup. Because at the end, she said, well, everybody's playing a different role and they're the number one. I don't want to hear none of that. Why is Kelsey Gray starting 2 games in a row and we have seen no production out of Kelsey Gray yet? None. Why is she starting 2 games in a row? Why come you took the ball out of Caitlin Clark's hands? Because to me, from the outside looking in, and I just hate to even put this narrative out there, what I seen today looks very similar to what the Indiana Fever run with Stephanie White. Is Stephanie White subliminally sabotaging her own damn player?
Caitlin Clark just broke records for Team USA, and then Team USA coach Kara Lawson turned right around and benched her again. That sounds impossible. It sounds like something fans would exaggerate after a weird game, but when you actually look at what happened after Clark's historic debut, the footage gets uncomfortable fast, because this was not just about one quieter night. This was about what Team USA did right after Clark showed she could completely change the game.
Clark off the Billings screen, gets it into Monique Billings, and that's her first bucket. Hockey subs. Kelsey Plum with her first bucket. Caitlin Clark on the move, over to Billings. Billings on the left-hand side, off the glass.
And that is why this story is getting so much attention right now. Against Senegal, Caitlin Clark did not just play well, she made history. She came off the bench, played 19 minutes, scored 17 points, handed out 12 assists, and did not turn the ball over once. She shot 4 of 5 from 3 and 5 of 5 from the free throw line.
Billings up to Clark. Clark takes her first shot, and it's a 3, and it is good.
That is not a solid debut. That is a takeover. The transcript frames it as 5 fiber records falling in one game, including debut assist records and historic production off the bench. In other words, Clark walked into senior national team basketball and immediately bent the whole game around her.
Paige finds herself down low, kicks it out to Caitlin Clark. Clark puts it up and nothing but net. And themselves prepared for the World Cup that they've already qualified for. Offense or defense as Caitlin Clark puts up a 3.
That matters because after a performance like that, everyone expects the next step to be obvious. More trust, more minutes, more of the offense running through her, more pace, more pressure on the defense. Instead, Team USA came out against Puerto Rico and felt like a completely different team. And you could feel that difference before you even got into the X's and O's. The energy in Puerto Rico was real. The crowd was packed. There were Clark jerseys everywhere. Even the opposing coach's daughter had a sign up for Caitlin Clark and Paige Buchers. The cameras were glued to Clark. The tournament buzz was glued to Clark. The whole building felt like it knew it was watching the biggest attraction on the floor. Wanted more Clark. The tournament buzz was following Clark, but the people controlling her role seemed to want something else. That is the part fans are reacting to, because against Puerto Rico, the offense looked flatter almost immediately. The pace dropped. The ball did not pop the same way. There were long stretches where Clark was physically on the floor, but the game was not flowing through her. And when that happens with Caitlin Clark, the whole point of having Caitlin Clark starts to disappear. That is the real issue. Clark is not one of those players who stands in the corner and waits for her turn. Her value is that she changes the geometry of the court. That is exactly what Team USA looked like against Senegal. But against Puerto Rico, there were stretches where Clark was out there and barely involved, and the offense paid for it immediately. And that brings us to the possessions everyone is talking about, Angel Reese. Because this is where the frustration went from a weird feeling to something fans could point to on film. Multiple times in the Puerto Rico game, Clark got herself open, showed for the ball, created angles, and did everything a guard wants from an off-ball teammate. And multiple times, Reese looked her off. Once, you can explain away. Twice, maybe you still give the benefit of the doubt. Basketball is fast. Reads get missed. But when it keeps happening, fans stop calling it random and start calling it a pattern. That is what the transcript keeps hammering. Clark was open, Reese had the ball, and Reese chose something else. Sometimes it was forcing her own push up the floor. Sometimes it was choosing a tighter pass. Sometimes it was just refusing to make the simple read. And the reason that annoyed people so much is because it did not just look personal. It looked destructive. When Clark stops touching the ball, the pressure she creates disappears. The defense does not have to stretch as far. The tempo drops. The spacing shrinks. Suddenly, Team USA looks normal instead of dangerous. That is why fans were so frustrated watching these two games back to back. Game 1 looked like a blueprint. Game 2 looked like somebody tore the blueprint up. And once that was already bubbling, Kara Lawson's post-game comments made it even bigger.
I thought Caitlin's playmaking ability, really kind of got us going. We got into a nice rhythm in that second quarter and scored a lot of points. So
because coaches are usually careful in these spots, they speak in safe cliches. They say the right things. They protect everyone. But after the Puerto Rico win, Lawson talked about rough spots, said the team was still figuring things out, and the transcript frames her broader message as wanting everyone to shine, not just Caitlin Clark. That is where fans lost patience, because timing matters. If you say that in a vacuum, maybe it sounds fair, maybe it sounds like ordinary team-building language, but saying it right after Clark just shattered records in under 20 minutes changes everything. It stops sounding like team balance and starts sounding like a deliberate effort to pull the spotlight away from the one player who had just proven she could blow the game open. And if that was the idea, the Puerto Rico film backed it up. Clark did not start. The offense bogged down. The tempo slowed. Then Clark came in, and things picked up again. That is not even the wildest part. Puerto Rico was reportedly showing extra attention to Clark, including box and one style pressure, which tells you what the other side thought of her threat level. The opponent was treating Clark like the player you had to slow down at all costs. Meanwhile, Team USA was acting like it still needed to spread things around and make this a shared showcase. That is backwards. If the other team is already telling you who scares them most, believe them. And that is why I think this Puerto Rico game actually proved something massive about Caitlin Clark. It did not weaken her case. It strengthened it, because now fans have both versions on tape. They saw what Team USA looked like when Clark was allowed to push pace, create, and control the action. That version looked explosive, it looked easy, it looked historic. And they saw what Team USA looked like when Clark was held back, looked off, and treated like just another option. That version looked clunky, forced, and weirdly lifeless for a team with this much talent. That contrast is the whole story. So yes, the title is harsh, but the sequence is real. Clark broke records. Then Team USA coach Kara Lawson benched her again and oversaw a game where the offense felt like it was trying not to become the Caitlin Clark show. And honestly, that may end up being the best possible thing for Fever fans to watch, because Indiana is not trying to make everybody else shine first. Indiana is building around Caitlin Clark. That means more trust, more freedom, more pace, more of the ball in her hands. And if this tournament showed anything, it is that when Clark gets that kind of role, defenses at any level are in trouble. Did Team USA overthink Caitlin Clark after her record game? Yes or no? And if you are still watching, drop Start Clark in the comments.
Kara Lawson, preparing for today's game, she got tapped on the shoulder. Tap, tap, tap. She looked behind her, and there she was, staring at Kara Lawson. Stephanie White. And you know what Stephanie White said? Slow it down, coach. Slow it down. You see all the publicity Caitlin Clark's getting today? Did you see the news? Everybody's talking about Caitlin Clark. We can't have that.
Caitlin Clark just exploded in her Team USA debut. 17 points, 12 assists, 4 threes, and somehow, we are still asking the same question. Could Team USA bench Caitlin Clark for a third straight game? Because at this point, that is no longer just a small lineup decision. It is becoming the story.
Team USA, they have to learn how to not play down to the competition. And one thing that Puerto Rico did well is they were just super scrappy and super aggressive, and they definitely mucked up the game. But skill-wise and team-wise, they are not a better team by far. But the biggest thing that I noticed from this Team USA team tonight was they weren't moving the ball as well as they did versus Senegal. They weren't sharing the ball as well as they did versus Senegal. It didn't seem like, I don't know. this might be looking into it too much. Like the vibes even seemed a little off.
And before we go any further, I want to ask you something. Should Caitlin Clark start against Italy? Yes or no? Drop your answer in the comments. Because after the first 2 games of this tournament, the debate is getting louder, not quieter. Now here is why this matters. Team USA opened this qualifying tournament in San Juan against Senegal. That was Caitlin Clark's long-awaited senior national team debut. And she was brilliant. 17 points, 12 assists, 19 minutes. The offense looked faster the moment she came in. The floor opened up, the passing got sharper, and suddenly it felt like Caitlin Clark was doing exactly what so many people expected her to do in a USA jersey, take over. But there was one detail that stood out before any of that happened. She did not start. She came off the bench. At the time, a lot of fans gave Team USA the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they were easing her back in. Maybe they were managing her workload. Maybe they just wanted to give the veterans the first run. Fine. That explanation made sense for one game. The lineup went another direction.
I'm not even going to look at this box score. I'm not even going to look at the scores of this game and say that anybody played overly well. Paige definitely had the best game of the night, and she even passed up shots. But I don't know if it was the lineups. And Coach Carol Lawson continues to change the lineups for this game. I don't understand though. And again, this topic that I'm about to bring up is not the end of the world. It truly isn't. But when you had Caitlin Clark and Ryan Howard clearly be the 2 best players on the floor and have the best games last night in that game versus Senegal, why are both of them still coming off of the bench?
Now, yes, Team USA still won comfortably. And yes, Clark still had her moments. She had the coast-to-coast and won. She hit the deep 3. The defense still had to respect her range the second she crossed half court. But the bigger story after the game was not just what Clark did. It was what Team USA did not do. They still did not put her in the starting lineup. And that is why the Italy game matters so much. Because now we are no longer talking about one random decision. We are talking about a pattern.
Now, Angel Reese started in the first game and Paige Beckers started in this game. I don't understand why Caitlin Clark is still coming off the bench. And I get it. It's not, I'm gonna reiterate this. It's not that big of a deal that she's not starting. But I do think she deserves to start. I think it's a bit of a missed opportunity. I do think when you're coming off of a game where she played the way that she did, where she was clearly the best player on the court, she earned her start, and it's like you could have started the second unit. And Ryan Howard is also in the unit that Caitlin Clark was playing in during this game.
If Caitlin Clark comes off the bench again against Italy, that is 3 straight games. And once you get to 3, it stops feeling temporary. It starts feeling intentional. That is when fans stop saying, maybe this is just caution, and start saying, wait a second, is this actually the plan?
It does sound like she's refusing to answer questions about the starting lineup. Because at the end, she said, well, everybody's playing a different role and they're the number one. I don't want to hear none of that. Why is Kelsey Gray starting 2 games in a row and we have seen no production out of Kelsey Gray yet? None. Why is she starting 2 games in a row? Why come you took the ball out of Caitlin Clark's hands? Because to me, from the outside looking in, and I just hate to even put this narrative out there, what I seen today looks very similar to what the Indiana Fever run with Stephanie White. Is Stephanie White subliminally sabotaging her own damn player?
Now, to be fair, Team USA does have reasons they can point to. Clark is coming back after a long injury layoff. She has been out for months, so if the coaching staff wants to manage her minutes carefully, that is understandable. There is also the fact that Team USA has already qualified. These games are not elimination games. They do not need to force anything right now. They can experiment. They can test lineups. They can see what different combinations look like. And on paper, all of that sounds reasonable. But here is where it gets complicated. If the idea is to ease Caitlin Clark in slowly, then why does the offense still seem to change the moment she enters the game? Why does the spacing look different? Why does the pace feel different? Why does everything suddenly feel more dangerous? That is the part people cannot ignore. because this is not a case where Clark looks overwhelmed. It is not a case where she looks out of place. It is not a case where she clearly needs more time before handling a major role. If anything, the opposite has happened. She has looked comfortable, she has looked dangerous, and she has already shown that she can run the offense at this level, which brings us to another important part of this story. Paige Buchers and Angel Reese both had bigger headline performances in the Puerto Rico game. Paige had the stronger scoring night. Angel Reese put up a double-double, and that matters. Not because it proves Clark should be on the bench, but because it gives Team USA more cover to keep doing what it is doing.
Yeah, guys, I don't think I can sugarcoat this. That game was very difficult to watch. They looked so lost out there, especially, well, actually pretty much everybody except for Kelsey Plum. She did a decent job. Paige Becker's by far the best player. Angel Reese crashed the heck out of that glass. But for some reason, Angel, she just kept looking off Caitlin Clark in moments where you get your ball to PG1 to take the ball up. And there were multiple moments. But, you know, I can't say that Caitlin Clark had a great game either. I mean, she didn't have a terrible game. She just did not have a game like yesterday.
That is what makes this situation more complicated. If other stars are producing too, then the coaching staff can point to that and say everything is working. They can say the team is deep. They can say multiple players are contributing. They can say there is no reason to rush anything. And from the outside, that makes Clark's bench role easier to justify. But that still does not fully answer the real question, because fans are not just watching box scores. They are watching roles. They are watching who gets trusted early. They are watching who gets handed the keys. And right now, even after one explosive debut and one more strong showing off the bench, Caitlin Clark still has not been handed that starting role. So what exactly are we looking at here? Is Team USA protecting Caitlin Clark? Is this just smart management? Or is this something bigger? Is Team USA still trying to control how much power she has in this group? Because that is what this debate is turning into, not just whether she starts, but what it means that she still does not. And that is why the Italy game feels different. It is not just another qualifier. It is not just another game Team USA is expected to win. It is a test of what the coaching staff really thinks, because if Clark comes off the bench again, fans are going to read that as a message. A very clear one, that no matter how explosive she looks, no matter how much attention she gets, no matter how much the offense opens up when she enters, Team USA still is not ready to build the opening group around her. And if that happens, the reaction is going to be loud, because at that point, people will start asking a bigger question. If 17 points and 12 assists in your debut was not enough, what exactly is enough? What more does Caitlin Clark have to do to start for Team USA? So now the question is simple. Should Caitlin Clark start against Italy? Yes or no? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you are still watching, drop Start CC in the comments so I know you made it all the way through. Because if Caitlin Clark gets benched again, this story is only getting bigger.